The one I wanted to concentrate on was council housing. I was born in a slum, in an attic. And when I was 5 years old, I moved to a council house. Garden front and back. A bathroom where the toilet seat wasn't warm from the 8 other families that had been sitting on it in my previous residence. A bathroom that was your own. A garden. Parks nearby. A new school. A new clinic where you went as a youngster and got cod liver oil and orange juice. And jars of malt to build you up. And all the paraphernalia of that period in the 1950s and 60s in this country. Council houses transformed the lives of tens of millions of families in this country. People who were cleared from slums and moved into brand new houses. Of course, a lot of them turned out to have been designed badly, built badly, could have been bigger, could have been better, but were much better than the slums from which the people had come. And we needed them because none of us could afford to buy houses then. The very idea was completely ill. I didn't know you could buy a house until I was about 20. Because everybody I knew lived and had lived all their lives in a council house. Now, a Labour government and Labour councils are doing everything that they can to destroy the concept of council housing. So much so that a woman called Caroline Flint, well named Flint Hart, she was voted the prettiest MP, but she came up with the ugliest idea I've ever heard. That unless council tenants could show that they were actively seeking work to the satisfaction of some beadle somewhere, then they would lose their houses. They'd be evicted from their houses. This is a Labour minister in a Labour government threatening council tenants with eviction if they didn't work. Of course, Thatcher sold most of the council houses that were worth buying. Labour refused to reverse it, has built virtually no council houses to replace the stock that was sold. So the proportion of people who are living in council houses now is smaller and smaller. And many of the people living in council houses have problems of one kind or another that mean finding work is not either sensible for them or likely. And we've got a Labour minister threatening to throw them. And when you think of the madness of that, what would they have done with the families that they evicted? Leave them sitting at the side of the road? Or put them in an expensive bed and breakfast? What's the economy of that? Put them out of their council house, put them up in the travel lodge. This kind of wickedness that trips from their lips it almost beggars belief. When you come into the field of race, for example, there's a man, I'm sorry to say, used to work for me, Phil Willis, the MP for Oldham. He said on the front page of the Sunday Times 5 or 6 weeks ago, the problem in the Muslim community, he said, is inbreeding. The kind of language, kind of politics. All we have to do is convince people to believe. We've got to do what Keir Hardie did when he argued for the break from the Liberals and the establishment of a party of Labour for the working people. We have to get people to make that leap of faith. We have to get people to believe that their votes are worth more than choosing this donkey or that donkey. Because if you send donkeys to the town hall or to the parliament, don't expect them to do anything other than bray and put their noses in the trough. And that's what the vast majority of them are. They leave parliament, they leave the town hall, twice the men they used to be. by which I mean they're twice the weight, twice the size, because they've gorged themselves in the public trough for so long. And I don't need to develop some of the stories that you've seen from Parliament over recent weeks. But because I'm going on so long, I need to shift emphasis for a minute. Because if we are regarded as anything, we're regarded as the anti-war party. Now, the reason I was on the television this morning at lunchtime was because of the 5th anniversary of this disastrous war. There was supposed to be a debate, but they had to cancel the debate because nobody would turn up to argue the other side. In the studio of Sky, right opposite Parliament, 2 minutes walk, they couldn't find a single member of Parliament from any party that would come and debate with me in the Sky studios on the war. I went to the Oxford Union last year to discuss a motion. This House supports Her Majesty's government's policy on Iraq, and the only person who turned up to move the support of the Labour government's policy on Iraq was Ian Duncan Smith, the erstwhile quiet man who briefly led the Conservative Party. And you can imagine, not since Rocky Marciano fought Don Cockell has there been a more one-sided bout than that. And that's the reality now. Everybody knows we were right. Everybody knows we were right, but the people that were wrong are still in their chairs. None of them have been held to account. Now, I believe in holding people to account. I believe people should be punished for wrongdoing. But not just because morally I believe that, but because if you don't punish people for wrongdoing, what's to stop the next lot doing the same wrongdoing all over again? If you get away with murder, why wouldn't you keep on murdering? And that's the huge democratic deficit that we have in this country today. Most of them are still in their current jobs, but some of them have gone on to better jobs. Take Mr. Blair. He left us just for a handful of silver. He left us, well, quite a handful. He's now got a 4-day-a-month job at JP Morgan Bank. 4 days a month, £1 million a year. But he's got other jobs. He's got another job 1 day a month for Zurich Insurance. £500,000 a year. And then he's the peace envoy, don't you know, in the Arab-Israeli dispute. During the last few weeks, where people have been massacred, where blood has been running down the streets, we haven't seen or heard a word from the peace envoy. The peace envoy. As I put it, not since Caligula appointed his horse a proconsul of Rome has there been a worse appointment than a blood-soaked war criminal as a peace envoy. But of course he wasn't there because he has no interest in peace. He's teaching faith at Yale University. I'm not making that up. He's about to become a university lecturer in faith studies at Yale. Because he's a Christian, don't you know? Wears it on his sleeve. I always say real religious people believe in the prophets, peace be upon them. Blair believes in the prophets and how to get a piece of them. That's the difference.